Okay, so it's a 1:30 exactly. Welcome everyone to the workshop. This workshop is about, let me pull up the first screen, the library resources and instruction for student success. We have three presenters from the library: Catherine Tinglestead, Ryan Harris, and Jeffrey McAdams. I'm here just to facilitate the session. If you have any questions, please send your question in the chat window, and I'll, deliver that question to the presenter. We are using Zoom, so everybody is learning how to use Zoom. So if there is any glitches, please understand. And if you have any questions about Zoom, also please send a message through the chat. So in terms of our speakers today, let me pull up a website that shows a list of all of the subject librarians at Atkins Library. So we have Ryan Harris here. He is the head of research and instructional services. And you can find more information about him on this website. I just did keyword search subject librarians on Atkins Library. It pulled up this website. So it's pretty easy to find this website. And then we have Jeff McAdams, who is an engineering librarian, and more information here on this page again. And Catherine Tinglestead, who is instruction and curriculum engagement coordinator. So thank you for being here, everybody. And I'll hand mic over to Ryan. So Ryan, please feel free to share your screen.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the nice introduction, Jason. She already did introductions, so I won't do them quite as much, but this session is going to go over just resources and instruction for student success, and also kind of talk about what the fall looks like for you all as well, and how you access resources. Please ask questions. We'll be happy to answer them either during or before. So just today, we're going to do an overview of Atkins Library Services, resources, and spaces. We'll talk about how we can support your instruction and do our own instruction, what that looks like, and how you can integrate both librarians and library resources into Canvas. And then we'll spend the last part of the class or discussion talking about open educational resources, which has become more and more important as more instruction's online. So we'll get started. And this is all of us who already got the introduction. You might know some of this already, but just in case there's anyone new here or isn't as familiar with library services, our website is library.uncc.edu. You can access it from My UNCC. There's a quick link on the right-hand side, one of the top links to libraries. So that's one way to get access to things. And a lot of the resources I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to talk about. I'm not really going to do live demo of the website, but on the main library page, there is a link for faculty and staff. So that's like an area that you can go to get a lot of access to these resources and links that I'm going to be talking about during this first part of the session. So just to give you some overview of some services specifically more catered towards faculty, Jason did mention the subject librarians, but we do have specific subject librarians for different departments and fields. These are the librarians that you can go to if you need help with instruction, which Catherine's going to talk a little bit more about, but they can develop course guides for your classes. They can help you locate resources to use for your instruction. I know this past spring and over the summer, we've been working a lot with faculty to help find online textbooks and journal articles and videos that can be used and integrated into your more online classes. You can also go to the subject librarian for your own research needs. Like if you're having, if you need assistance finding resources, things like that, we can help you do that. And we also encourage you to guide students to us as well if they need help with their assignments, things like that as well. You can request items from the library. So anything in our collection you can request via our catalog. There's a link to request items, and that can be pulled to be held at the library. We are going to be reopening August 31st with brief hours that week, and then regular hours will be starting on September 7th, if all goes as what's scheduled right now. I know everything is in constant flux, it seems. But when you request items, they can be put on a hold shelf for you, or they can be delivered to your office on campus as well. These are for any items that we have in the library. Anything that we don't have in our collection, we will obtain for you through interlibrary loan. And that can be a print book or a journal article from a journal that we do not have a subscription to. And interlibrary loan for print materials is starting to pick up as some libraries reopen they're starting to open up some. We also do collection development. If there's a book you want for a class or something like that, not necessarily a textbook, but just a book you think that should be in the collection or a resource you're interested in, you can talk to your subject librarian to kind of see if that's something that we could purchase for you. If you're new faculty, I know sometimes you get a certain amount of collection funds and you can use those specifically to purchases that you yourself want to have in the library collection. And a lot of services we do for faculty are similar to what we do for students, but some of the things that are more unique to students that you might want to be aware of is we do have laptop checkout. We have purchased quite a few new laptops just to kind of meet that need. In the fall semester, normal laptop checkout is for 24 hours, but we've extended that to a week. And we can do further extensions based on need of the students. But we're kind of just talking to each student. We're not making a blanket statement of how long we'll extend something till. But if they need it for the entire semester, we will likely extend it for the entire semester. The library is planning on being open, so we do have study rooms and study spaces for the library as well. So the study rooms will be open with the caveat that it's limited to one student per study room. I know that's not the norm, but we are following the same rules for distancing that the campus has instituted, so masks are required. And really, there are study spaces in the library, but there will be less study space because we've had to distance everything. So really, there's one student per table, essentially, as well. So that's just something that if students are asking, I know there's kind of been a question of where can a student go if they have an in-person class and then an online class right away. They can go to the library. We just want them to respect the distancing rules, and we will be enforcing those and hoping that the students follow those rules, since it's kind of become expected that students follow this behavior. Just an overview of our resources. We do have almost 800,000 volumes. We have over 1 million electronic books, over 200,000 journals, 600 databases. We have subject guides. Those are guides specifically created by subject librarians. They can be for a specific course or just to go over a general topic. Catherine's going to talk a little bit more about that. A resource that we like to point out to faculty as well is browsing. And this is a tool that you can use. Our guides look funky right now because we're reformatting them. But this is a tool that you can download to your iPad or to any platform. And what it does is it kind of collates different journals that you're interested in. So you can get table of content updates, you can download PDFs. From the catalog, we've integrated browsing into that, so you can actually directly download a PDF, which is nice as well. You can also click on our link resolver to get access to full text. But that's just a resource I like to point out that maybe some people haven't been utilizing, but it's really useful just to kind of pull together the journals that you're interested in on getting updates from and articles from as well. So we offer a lot. There's obviously more that we offer. And if you have questions, I would always encourage you to go to your subject librarian. During the fall, we're really only going to be doing consultations virtually or by phone. So that's just something to be aware of. I want to talk a little bit about library spaces because that is going to look different in the fall. So we are going to have the library will be open, but the tower floors are going to be closed. And there's a few different reasons for that. One is just to kind of like prevent people from being close together in close quarters. But the other is we're actually going to be moving some of our print collection to offsite storage. That was approved over the summer. There's a variety of reasons why we need offsite storage. One is that we have no more space to expand in the library. Our stacks are full. And because we don't have space anymore, like our collection isn't in order anymore. So by moving stuff to offsite storage, we'll be able to put what we keep in the library in order again, which will be nice just for people finding things. Another reason is this will actually create more study space for the students, which is deemed important, especially with the pandemic and just creating more space in the library. And it will also allow us to make the spaces in the tower floors ADA accessible. Right now, they're not. So those are some of the reasons why we're doing offsite storage. I was talking earlier about the service of requesting materials, how you get materials. If it's not in the building, will kind of remain this, would almost be the same as if you didn't go into the library at all. You'll still be able to request it and it'll be pulled for you. During the moving of the resources, there probably will be a lag in that, but we're still gonna be pulling things twice a day as well. And we expect once things are, in working order, that'll take about 24 hours, which is like how long it takes right now. There could be some gaps in that while we're making the transition though. But the ground floor through the third floor will be open and accessible to faculty, students, and staff. You might be aware that normally we're open 24/5, so Sunday through Thursday, we're open 24 hours normally. That won't be the case in the fall. We'll be closing at 11 Sunday through Thursday, 7 on Fridays, and 7 on Saturdays as well. So, and we'll be open during the week at 7:30, and on the weekends we open it a little bit later in the day. So that's just kind of the changing environment and needs and things like that, why we're changing some of our hours. But everyone has access. After 5 p.m., you will have to use your ID to get access to the building. That's a little bit of a change in service, but it's just something to be aware of. But those, like I said, those spaces are distanced. It's one person per table, one person per study room. We've distanced all the computers as well that are in the building. So there will still be study space for students. And then another area is just Area 49. That's kind of our technology suite of services. And that space is still going to be open in the fall. It's just going to be a little bit different on how many people can access it. They'll do more cleaning. The things that we have there is a visualization lab, which is kind of a space where there is a virtual reality device there that's only going to be allowed to use once a day just because of the cleaning requirements. But it's also a space where you can do data visualization or pull up an image if you need to take a closer look at. We have the maker space, which has 3D printers, poster plotter, sewing machines, laser cutters, all kinds of things like that. We have our gaming lab, which is used by computer science courses, but it's also a place that students kind of hang out and play some video games too. We have the Easy Video Studio. This is a space that you all in particular might be interested in. It's a space where you can actually record yourself. And really all you have to do is bring your computer, not even your computer, you could just bring your USB drive, pull up a presentation and it records yourself. That is only going to be available for academic use, be it for classes or for faculty wanting to record lectures. We also have a chromatography lab, which does 3D imaging of images. So these spaces are all available. If you want to find out more, you can go to the Area 49 page on the website. And these are also spaces that can be integrated into your instruction during the semester as well. And you'll hear more about that a little bit later. And does anyone have any questions right now, just kind of about like the basic overview of the library services for you before Catherine gets started?
Okay, well, I can go ahead. My name is Catherine Tingelstad. I'm the Instruction and Curriculum Engagement Coordinator at Atkins Library, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about our instruction program and how we can work with you, particularly this fall, in instruction. Again, you see a picture of our instruction librarians. These are the subject librarians that work in the Research and Instructional Services unit. And we actually have 16 in total, so you're not seeing all of them here. But their subject areas range from engineering to data sciences to art and architecture to history. So we've pretty much got all the bases covered. In addition to the subject librarians, we have a team of instruction librarians in Area 49, which Ryan had mentioned. And then we also have instruction librarians who work in our special collections unit. So our instruction extends beyond our RIS unit. The subject librarians, and Ryan talked a little bit about this, but the subject librarians are available to teach research and information literacy sessions in your classes. They are available to meet for research consultations with you or with your students. They are kind of the go-to people if you are interested in ordering materials. So if you'd like to get a video or a book, you would contact your subject librarian. And really, they kind of serve as your point person for communicating with the library. Okay. Teaching in the online environment, and this is what everybody has been focusing on for the last 6 months, but we have been doing a lot of work to prepare and to really think about how we're going to work with classes this fall and beyond in the online environment. In order to set up a class with a subject librarian or any of our instruction librarians, you can contact them directly. And usually the librarians will send an email to the faculty in their assigned areas, letting them know that they're available for instruction and kind of offering a menu of services or concepts, topics that we can cover with your students. Not only do we work with students on finding information, but we also help them assess, integrate, and create information. So this semester, we are going to be available for classes using the hybrid model, as well as classes that are working completely online. And that means we're going to be doing both synchronous and asynchronous sessions. An example of a synchronous session might be the kind of the flipped classroom model, where we would share a video or two for students to watch prior to the class, and then spend the time that we share live with them answering questions, doing some demonstrations, talking about the content that they may have seen or viewed prior to class, and really discussing the material. So we'd like that to be interactive. The asynchronous sessions, we have worked this summer, and I should say one of our librarians, Mark Bess, who's the point person for creating online learning objects, has created a multitude of videos, how-to videos, tutorials. We also have librarians who are creating slide presentations that they're narrating over. So we have a lot of different strategies that people are using to provide you with material that you can use that doesn't have to be necessarily a live session for your students. Okay. Library instruction, just to give you kind of an overview of some of the things we do. I'm not going to read through each of these bullet points, but typically I think that when when people think about library instruction, they think about the first bullet point, which is teaching students about research strategies and tools. But there are a multitude of concepts and skills that we can teach students and work with in your classes. So think beyond what you think of as traditional library instruction. We work with students to develop critical thinking skills, to evaluate online information, which is a really essential skill right now. We're exploring visual literacy and helping them look at images and kind of contextualize them, and really also think about image creation and citation. So there's a lot that we cover, a lot conceptually that we can do with your class. So I would encourage you to speak with your subject librarian about your assignment and how that assignment can connect to the appropriate instruction. Okay. We're really interested in doing as much active learning as we possibly can this semester. I just want to point out that any document you see on the right, as you see on the right side of the page, is going to be linked in the last slide. So there are a number of these documents in the slides I'm going to be showing you, but we will show you that slide at the end that has links to these documents. And one of our strategies for active learning is using the Meet, Engage, Reflect model, where you incorporate active learning at each stage. So for example, meeting the students and assessing their learning up front and finding out what they know about a particular topic or subject that you're going to be working on. Engaging them throughout the instruction with active learning opportunities, chances for them to work together or chances for them to consider the material individually. And finally, kind of reflecting actively on what they learned and how they might use that information going forward. So again, we've talked about, we want to use that time that we have available with them live to be able to interact with them, to address issues and questions. And we've been working on incorporating as many of these tools as I'm sure you and everybody else have, just to make sure that we are really creating active, interactive sessions, but tools like the chat, the polling, and some of the other collaborative tools. Okay. Ryan mentioned research guides, and the other thing I'm talking about on this slide are our how-to videos. These are some really great resources that we have put together for you to use and incorporate into your Canvas courses or anywhere else that you'd like to share these with your students. The research guides, like the one you see on the left, are repositories or kind of web pages that we can create for a specific subject area, a topic, a program, really anything. This one is on open access images and videos. The research guides are, you can link to them or you can embed them in your Canvas course. And they are very customizable. So I would suggest if you're interested in having one of these created for your class, I keep saying contact your subject librarian. The other, on the right side of the page, you see an example of one of our how-to videos. This one talks about searching for ebooks. Mark Bess, again, is the librarian who has created these digital learning objects. We probably have between 75 and 100 of these. They're short. You can see that this one is only about a minute. But these, again, can be embedded or linked to within your Canvas course. And these are also easily accessible from the library's website. Okay? You can also include the library and your librarian in Canvas. On the left-hand side, the flyer talks about library resources in Canvas. And in each Canvas course, on the left-hand side of the course, there are, I'm sure you've seen, a number of links. And one of those is library resources. So when a student clicks on that library resources link, we have mapped the guides you saw in the previous slide so that the most appropriate guide for your class will be connected to that link. If for some reason there is not a guide made for your class yet, it will go out to a default general guide, and that's perfectly fine. It has some general research information, our top 10 databases, but it's really nice to be able to customize those guides as much as possible to get the students to the place where they have all of that information together. They don't have to go anywhere else in terms of looking for databases or information or websites and that sort of thing. On the right side of the screen, you see the flyer for adding a librarian to your Canvas course. And you can actually, we have created a librarian role. When you go into Canvas and you're adding somebody under people, you click on people, you type in the email address of your librarian, and you have to use the original address. You can't use their alias. So that's important. Then from the drop-down menu, you can choose librarian. And the librarian role is a limited role that allows the librarian to participate in your course, to do things like view and participate in discussions. So if, for example, something related to research came up, the librarian could participate and answer questions. The librarian could introduce themselves so that the student knows, the students in the class know that this is their subject librarian. They also could access assignments, certainly not do anything like grade, but just to see, maybe get some feedback on how students are doing, and provide input if that's what the faculty member is interested in. So I would encourage you to make sure that the library resources link is activated and to add your subject librarian to your Canvas course. Okay. And there are lots of library materials that you can add to your course this semester and semesters after this. We have course reserves, which are reserves that you can, materials that you can put on reserve in both physical format and electronically. And electronically would be really nice this semester because that would keep students from having to come into the library and handle materials. So that's something to consider. We have a new feature called Virtual Browse. This is really timely because this allows you to find something in the catalog, and then you can see images of materials that would be adjacent to that on the shelf. So rather than going up into the stacks in the tower, which we will not be able to do, you can browse virtually, and that kind of helps you if that's how you like to look for books. Open educational resources is Jeff is going to be talking about that in just a few minutes. We have an e-textbook database, and this document again is linked on the last slide, so there will be a link out to the e-textbook database as well as the other items. And this shows you what e-textbooks are available for faculty to use with their students. We also have a good number of streaming video collections. Probably the most popular, or maybe the most well-known of those, is Films on Demand. And Films on Demand is actually integrated into Canvas. So you can select a film without leaving Canvas, and it's very easy to do. I would encourage you to contact any of us. We have a short video that shows you how to do that, and that's a really nice feature as well. All right. And my last slide, I just want to reiterate that Area 49 is open for this fall. They are doing instruction. There will be online instruction. and as well as face-to-face instruction when that's possible. If you take a look at the right side of the screen, you see a large variety of instruction topics that they offer. And again, I'm just going to let you read through those instead of walking through those individually. If you're interested in working with Area 49, you can certainly go through your subject librarian, or you can reach out to the Area 49 instruction librarians by emailing at atkinstechsupport@uncc.edu. And one thing that I just think is phenomenal about Area 49 is their ability to help faculty, help instructors connect an assignment to the really wonderful resources they have there. So they're really great to work with. And I think now I am going to pass it over to Jeff McAdams.
Hi, everyone. So in addition to being the engineering librarian, I also work with open education resources for everybody for the library. And so I'm going to talk about those. The main draw to open educational resources, of course, is that they're free to students, but they're also flexible for the faculty member. And what I mean is they give you, because they have open permissions, they give you an ability to use them in creative ways. And right now, I think that we need to be open to some of those creative ways, especially when we're doing online instruction. Go ahead and go to the next one. So if you don't know what open educational resources are, how they're defined by the 5 R's here. And they're retain, reuse, revise, remix, and redistribute. And so that means that the students can keep a copy forever. You can keep a copy. You can put a copy of these in your Canvas, and you can link out to them, of course, but you can email them to students who couldn't get it. So there's not any of the copyright issues that you normally have with a paid text, especially with some of the access code issues that a lot of students have trouble with, or have those issues. And you can use them, reuse them for different purposes, meaning like you can use them for community engagement if you want to. They don't have to just be used in the educational classroom. But one of the main things is you can edit them, you can modify them, you can adapt them. So there's lots of different ways that you can take a piece from one and mix it with another one and create something that's customized for your classroom. So it's a little bit more user-friendly for the students to have something that you've packaged for them rather than having to go through a bunch of different links, which, that's not so terrible. So next slide. So this is just an image of how the Creative Commons license kind of look visually. So there's different licenses that the author can put on their work. And if you create something, let's say for your classroom, you can also put one of these on your work, and this will help you understand it. And I'd be happy to even meet with you and talk about that. But it just kind of tells you what you can do with the different ones, with the different check mark boxes on those. But the most common open one is the CC BY license, which allows anybody to do anything with the content as long as you give the appropriate accredited, attribution. And they all have that. So everything with the CC license has to be attributed to the author, and that's also something I can help people with in terms of like how do they do it. So you can see at the bottom, that's a good example of an attribution where I took this image, and it's got a CC BY SA license on it, and so I took the image. I have a link to where I got it from. I have a link to who the organization or the person who created it, and then I have a link to the license. So that's pretty much what you'll see on a lot of those things. So I'll go ahead and next slide. So the benefits for students, number one, they can retain it. They don't have to resell it. They don't have to borrow it from a friend or borrow it from the library. They don't have to return it. Like a lot of students do the rental option, which is a very, it's an affordability option that the bookstores have, but this way they can keep it for future classes. One of the issues that students have sometimes is they'll pay for an access code, and let's say they can't finish the semester. Well, the access code expires, so they have to pay for it again, right? So they have to pay twice for the same thing. And they have day one access, so that means that there's no problem for them to be able to do the work immediately. I've talked with a couple of instructors on campus who've switched from an online access code to an OER for their textbook, and they said in their experience the benefit for them as the instructor was they had 0 questions about I couldn't do the work because I didn't have access to the homework or to the reading or whatever like that. So there was no excuses for that. And then they said the students seemed to, they haven't like studied it, but anecdotally, the students seemed to do a little bit better because they had access to the material instead of there's always some students that have trouble getting the material for one reason or other. I have a link to a paper at the bottom here. The ability to learn is more equalized. What this paper does is they studied is a longitudinal study, and they talked about how equal access to the actual content of the class really improved the grades of minority students better because they had access to the material, whereas like previous students who are more privileged had, they could afford the material before more often than students in a lower socioeconomic background. And then I have a link. It says affordability is still a problem. There's been a lot of affordability initiatives recently, and we're hoping that those things have made an impact. Let's say like access codes, that like the inclusive access and different options, but it's still an issue. So this study was done just recently, just in 2019, and it's just saying that it's still a problem for students who can't afford the material for the course. They just don't do as well. Okay, next slide. So the benefits for instructors. So if you find something that you can use, even just for a piece of the course, you can edit it as you need. So you can edit missing pieces. You can remove unnecessary parts that you don't think that the students, doesn't, they don't need to read, or, they don't need to see. You can change examples to local examples if that's applicable. So there's been lots of cases where somebody's created a standard environmental studies book, and different campuses and different instructors will take some of the environmental studies examples. Let's say the book was written in Oregon, they'll change some of the examples to North Carolina examples, right? So they don't have to recreate this book, but they can throw in stuff that's more relatable to the students, and they just have to, and then they usually use stuff they've already done their research on, so they can just throw that in there and share that with their students. They don't have to republish the book or anything like that. So you can do that. You can take the most applicable things from different sources, from different OERs, and put them together. That, like I said, that's easier. You can get them into the hands of whoever needs to have them. So there's no limit on like, oh, does this person authenticate a student, or is this can only staff view it, or can I send it to my niece or nephew or whoever? You can do whatever you want with how to distribute them. Next slide. Also, the pedagogical possibilities, and I hope that some of you take a look at some of these links with open pedagogy. And what this is like, it's more of an active learning, active engagement kind of way of thinking about it. It's not necessarily tied to the 5 R's or anything like that, but it's about how to make students, how to take away the disposable assignments. So what we're trying to get people to think about is, like there's a link there that says making textbooks with students, using the students to take their assignments, take their inquiry, and create something that with the idea that it will have an audience, that they can share this with other people instead of just turning it into the instructor. So there's more peer review going on, and there's lots of critical thinking and more analysis in terms of your assignment. So you'd have to change up your assignments a little bit, but it has more engagement. And because we're doing a lot of this online, it's something that could work well with students meeting virtually with each other. So if you have any questions about any of these examples in the blogs or the websites I've given you, let me know and I'd be happy to talk with you about those. All right, next slide. So I know that in some of your areas, there's not, like some of the more niche areas, I don't want to say niche, like some of the different research areas or class areas, they're not going to have an OER necessarily. Like a lot of the OERs that have been created so far have been meant to have the biggest return on investment. So like algebra and intro classes, like that kind of stuff. But it's surprising what is out there. And some of these search places, like you can search, you'll find, you'll just never know what exists. And people are creating OERs all the time. But you can probably find something that's that could supplement some of your work. And so if you're interested, just check it out. You can add, something to your class if it makes sense. And you can always work with me on seeing if there's anything available. So next slide. Speaking of that, how to find them. I have a guide for it. I have a page that has a search box on it that is a really nice search box. And then that'll help you search for OERs. But, librarians are pretty expert about searching things, and we kind of like look through all these nooks and crannies and stuff. So I would really hope that you guys can involve your subject librarian or me on this, because we can, see if you're frustrated, you can't find anything, see if we can find something for you. I want to mention, if you guys haven't heard about this, the UNC system this summer created 10 course packages that are all OERs. What they did was they took big OER textbooks, and also they had 4 faculty members and an instructional designer and a librarian work on these classes and to create assignments, and they mapped it to the curriculum. So they're really nice packages, and you can take some or all of it however you want. But again, they're in the big classes. So there's economics and several math courses, and biology and chemistry and things like that. So check it out, or tell a colleague if you think that'd be helpful. I say repositories and referatories, meaning that some of the places will collect, like there'll be a publisher of OER content, and some of them will just be kind of a page that lists what OER content is, and it links out to the publishers. And almost all the OERs were created for a class, so they're already used in a class somewhere. So let us know. And I'm really happy to talk about this and work with anybody who wants to explore. Next slide. And so you can email your subject librarian and get in contact with them. I also have a form that I've created that just asks you for some basic information, like, what your name is, what your class is. Are you looking for just, quizzes, or are you looking for a textbook? Or are you looking for videos? That kind of stuff. And then that'll help when we get that form. I'll get your subject librarian and me, and we'll work with you on trying to find the things that you need. So that's just an entryway, but you can certainly just send us an email as well. We'll help you search, and you'll have to review and evaluate the content, because we're not experts in the different subjects. So, but we can help you answer questions on Creative Commons licenses and permissions, and how to do attribution, any technical challenges that you have questions about. And I think that's it from me.
Yeah, I'm going to send everyone a link to this presentation. These links are some of those handouts that Catherine was talking about that we've worked on this summer, just to kind of give you information about how we can support you all. We know this is going to be a challenging semester and that there's a lot of unknowns, but I think we just really want to emphasize that you should contact us. We are really happy to collaborate with you. Even if it's as simple as like, what open textbook should I use, to helping support some of the research assignments you're doing. We are really happy to collaborate. And you know, you've heard the word subject librarian a lot, but you should take advantage of your subject librarian.